Thanks so much for being here. We're going to start off with a couple introductions just for our football team. So, sure a lot of you are familiar with who Football Alliance is. I'm sure a lot of you are part of the class. Megan Jordan, who are in the room. Well, you guys are listening here. My name is Alia. I'm the agriculture education coordinator. I started in June, so I haven't had some of you, but
Evening, everyone. My name is Chris. I am the director of programs and outreach here. I oversee the entire resource to the team and kind of help take care of some of our resource support offerings and part of myself here at Atlanta. So, speech.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bobby Farmer, the Food Alliance team. I work on some of the resources we do, such as our grant making, the direct funding support we do to growers and other organizations, as well as help to support with some of the other resources we offer.
Cool. So my name is Brandon Tony. I'm a project manager. As it relates to this meeting, I manage the PCS tractor tool lending program. I'm also manage the youth focus program. Teaches making programs.
so my role here, like I said, didn't really cover that, but workshops. So, can you guys see all right on Zoom? Is that okay? Very informal. All right, so Football Alliance, I'm sure that a lot of you guys are familiar. We're just a network of local leaders working together to build thriving community gardens and urban farms. So that's what's most applicable to you guys today. Today we're going to be focusing just on farm resources. We also cover community gardens, as well as some policy and planning initiatives, which are all available on our website if anyone is interested in any of those. We also have a lot of events through our community gardens, like our Play Repeat. So if you're looking to ever volunteer or to do some of those more garden-centric education opportunities, definitely keep an eye out on our events page.
Everybody can hear me well that's in the room. If you can't hear me while you're online, just let me know. So I'm just going to talk real quick about who we serve and who we support. So we serve the immediate metro area right outside the city of Atlanta. So the city of Atlanta, of course, is one of the areas that we serve. We also serve Fulton County, DeKalb County, Clayton County, as well as Gwinnett and Cobb. So these are all areas that will be eligible for our support offerings that we have as an organization. So we would love for you all to take advantage of those.
The next year, space.
All right. So just to talk a little bit about eligibility criteria and what you have to do in order to be able to get, some of these offerings that we have. Of course, number one, your farm or your organization needs to be located within the service area that I've already previously defined. Next, you have an expectation that you're focused on food production, and then you're making that available to people in the community. So that's whether that be donations, whether that's be through CSAs, farmers markets, or other channels like online sales. Those are some of the things that we're looking for. So it's not just you growing, just for yourself. We want you to be able to make this available to other people in the community, okay? Another thing that may not be listed on here is some type of registration for your entity. So whether that's a business license or some type of certification for you all having a nonprofit status. Those are typically the organizations that we serve and support and work with. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go into our grant season, that you want to have those types of things up to date. And then just real quick, some of the things that we offer, and I'm sure that some of you all have taken advantage of some of this support. And if not, tonight we'll talk about how you can take advantage of those resource support offerings that we have. So number one is our farm labor support. This is one that we work with our local partners like Eco Paradigm, Think Green Incorporated. We also have mechanical assistance through tractor work with a gentleman by the name of Chris Teal, small farmer at large. He's here tonight. So you all can network and meet with him. You also can learn about different tools that we have to offer. So we have BCS tractor training that we offer for everyone. And then we also have different tools that you can rent and take advantage of through the Atlanta Community Tool Bank to help drive efficiencies and save time on your farm or your garden operation. And then, of course, one of my favorite things is our compost delivery program. This is a 1-for-1 straightforward. You come in, you apply, you get it, set up the delivery, and we drop it off to you. And this is something that's really important just going into each season to make sure that you have, good soil and you're able to increase and pump out those yields. And then, of course, the big deal, the money. So this year we have 2 types of grant packages that you all will be able to apply for. And we'll talk through those things a little bit later in the presentation. So I just wanted to cover those things real quick for you, and we'll go from there.
All right, folks, once again, really appreciate y'all coming out. For folks joining us online too, really appreciate y'all tuning in to just hear a little bit more about what we do. So we know small scale farm operations, labor costs are absolutely one of the highest operating costs of any of those organizations or small farm businesses. That's something we've heard at Food Well Alliance going back to even 2015 when we first started. But it's also something that's communicated in, larger, trends nationally, probably internationally as well. When we talk about the different types of farms that exist that are part of, our local food system. And then if you scale that up to bigger sizes. So we have been involved in supporting farm labor in a variety of ways. One of those that we do offer is what we call our farm labor support stipend. So that's a direct cash stipend from Food Well Alliance to another organization. Hey, Brandon, would you mind going downstairs and so the labor stipend is a direct cash payment from Food Well Alliance to, as Chris mentioned, a registered farm entity or organization. The labor stipend is meant to essentially fit in and supplement what farms are doing as far as paying themselves, paying team members, paying people that are part of making things work. So we'd like this to be a flexible offering. We don't define exactly how it's used by each of those farms, and there are a lot of different ways that a farm could think about, deploying or utilizing that flexible funding. Maybe you're using it for early season startup. A farm has things that need to happen in January and February, but your farm revenue might not be coming in until you hit farmers market season starting up in April. So being able to fit in some flexible funding to support those operations is something that we're kind of targeting with this labor stipend. So this is something we've had in place now for 2 years. That was a $2,400 stipend. We're increasing that amount to $3,000. And a farm organization can request that stipend. We look at it as kind of once a year type of offering and resources that folks can tap into. Now, whether you request that in the spring, whether you request that now to get your farm, maybe through the winter or into the winter, that we leave that a little bit up to the farm. And something that we like to kind of point out is that farms can use this for hiring a farm team member that's on the farm day to day, working in a field or a production space. But that could also go to somebody who's out at a local farmers market. So that might be a market team member or somebody whose role is not necessarily just in the field day after day. We also, have heard from farms, and something we're open to is, this labor stipend being utilized for some other forms of labor at your farm. So maybe you're trying to implement a project, you need to pay, a skilled electrician or plumber or some other skilled tradesman to accomplish a task for, a farm infrastructure project. That's something that the stipend could be applied to as well. So we're open to that being utilized at a farm in some different ways. So yeah. Any other quick questions about that, or we'll have questions to the end?
I didn't finish my.
Cool.
If there's anything that's. Absolutely.
It's just flat.
Cool. I don't want to put him on the spot here and call up real quick. One of our awesome just farm resource providers that we've been in partnership with here at Food Well Alliance. We think about farm labor in a couple of ways. The stipend, this is another form of farm support that we have offered through our partnership with Charles Greenlee and his crew, Eco Paradigm. Charles is here tonight. Just want to give a lot of just gratitude to Charles as well as Chris Teal. They've been hands-on farms many years before Food Well Alliance was involved. But just here in the last couple of years, I think the partnerships that we've been able to form, supporting their time at farms, has just been an incredible asset to farms across Metro Atlanta in a variety of ways. So really excited to have them here tonight and just lift up certainly the work that they do. And so we call our other kind of form of farm labor support, this resource with Eco Paradigm, is where we are at Food Well Alliance are supporting Eco Paradigm's time to go put hands on farms to accomplish special projects, to help farms out as they're working through seasons. There are obviously some very busy times of year at a farm, and sometimes a farm just needs some helping hands. So that's kind of the way that this is kind of fit in. Charles, would you like to just say hey, introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Charles Murphy. I'm the in terms of the visual and very, the great when the company was founded because I saw a new so I'm sure the cap comes later this work so working with a lot of work with government training program by outside stores. We contacted a large number of people who already had some training. So just getting people out into the workforce, and they didn't have their own forums, they can work on, but then you have to be all type of people to receive work. But we're going to really get them to receive whatever it is that their goal is, so in this case, I was like, because I just used to serve this, I was like,
It's real time.
this is actually I-Town rebuild for Mama Hakeem. Yeah, Lord, putting out the Mama Hakeem. We had these long-term previous locations and he's been sitting around for long, so he sort of put it back together. She has some. You know, the school I was, which is one of the I said, what you got to make it work? Here, good momentarily, I leave on the hospital. So I encourage you all to, take advantage of all these resources, or it makes sense for you all, and to combine them in ways. It's not USDA, NRCS programs, cost here for things like hot tunnels and micro irrigation. We had to have guns up front to purchase it too. That's some type of way you should cost share back from NRCS, or use the food well funds to pay for the labor. Because USDA is not really gonna cover the labor, it's gonna cover for materials, a certain percentage. So that's what I encourage everybody to do. I think Mama Terry could definitely speak to that. I think she was able to do that, just exactly that for her high tunnel build. She actually got approved for the tunnel through NRCS. I think you had some grant funding. I don't know if it was from Food Well or elsewhere that helped you kind of purchase things up front. So once now we do the NRCS inspection and it passes, she'll get that reimbursement back and be able to use those funds however she sees fit. Yeah, so.
Can I also say that, you know, when that kind of construction is going on, for it to be so timely, you all were not just on time and stay the duration of the day to complete the work, but every day you could see the progress and the cleanup, and I just want to say thank you. And as a community, we also wrap around them because they're our brothers and sisters out here who are doing this work, no matter how much you're paid. Everybody wants to feel comfortable when they come to your spot, you know. So, but we really appreciate that. That's great.
You know, Charles and his crew are able to, you know, come on a site with skilled hands, with experience, with certainly a lot of opportunities to get to see different small farm operations in action across the Metro Atlanta area. So certainly able to not just come in to help out, but, you know, see how your approach is to a certain project or something, and certainly bounce ideas off. And I want to say real quick, you know, I think it's neat to think about, like Charles was mentioning, just how some of these different things can fit in. We're gonna talk about that kind of throughout the evening, but you know, we think about the farm labor support stipend being some funding support that the farm can utilize to hopefully, you know, bring on team members or support, you know, people's time on the farm. And then I think about, you know, Eco Paradigm as being, you know, that resource for some bigger projects or some times where, you know, a lot of hands are needed on the farm. So it's like, you know, labor support stipend, we're supporting, you know, possibly that kind of day-to-day or week-to-week kind of support. And then Eco Paradigm is able to come in with, you know, whether it's a special project that the farm's trying to take on, or you know, just a busy, you know, spring planting or fall planting time of the year. So it's kind of a neat way to think about how certain things are filling in at different times of the year, or different times that folks have things going on at the farm. Cool.
Thank you, Bobby. So the next offering I want to highlight is our Urban Ag School Lending Program. So this is through a partnership with the Atlanta School Bank. And they offer BCS walk-behind tractor rentals as well as the attachments. So we know that obviously purchasing a piece of equipment is another really big input cost. So for farmers to be able to check this out, you know, beginning of the growing season, becoming your soil, or whatever time of year it may be, it can be a really valuable resource for a lot of farmers. So to be eligible for this resource, you'll have to go through BCS tractor training, which is what Brandon was mentioning. Trainings you want to speak on, that's a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you're interested in this training, you can sign up on our website. Coordinator, with, you know, only with, you know, you just say about it.
So once you go, yeah, Brandon's our big BCS guy. So once you go through one of those trainings, the new membership training is like 1 to 2 hours based on previous experience. Everyone is required to go through that training, even if you have prior BCS experience. We just want to make sure that everyone's kind of on the same page and responsible for the equipment and all of that. So after you go through one of these trainings, you'll sign the sub-user membership agreement and liability form through Foodwell, and then there's a $75 annual fee, and that'll cover the cost of renting the tractor and the attachments. So after you pay that $75 fee, if you pay on these more than once, you won't have to pay any additional fees through the tool bank. But if you just wanted to check it out once a year, it's just a $35 fee. And then once you go through all those steps, you'll have opportunity to make a sub-user account through the tool bank. So they have their own website where you can see the inventory that they have and all the options they have available. They also, in addition to the BCS tractor, they also have other tools such as like rug forks, shovels, whatever you may need. If you want to check one out for a short period of time, maybe you don't have funds up front to have additional tools, you can do that as well. If you pay the annual fee through the Urban Opportunity Lending Program, you won't be responsible for the annual membership fee, but they do charge a 3%. 3% of I guess. Just in the event. That's another great resource if you're having volunteer day or you have maybe some extra tools just to get you through a particularly busy season.
So does that $75, membership cover rental fees from the?
Yeah, so, well, that'll cover the BCS tractor. And if you have a BCS tractor, but you don't have maybe a specific document that you need, then you can also do this. As well.
I just wanted to lift up a couple of cool tools and Team Cedar that's there now. So if you're looking at your own plant stars, so we're seeing out some trays, we have those. We also have some chippers and things like that. Not maybe like super heavy duty, but you have like meat bags and things like that. You want to get chopped down. Those are the things I would definitely chop.
Yeah. Very good to hear. So it's really neat to think about the BCS tool lending program being something where, farm has access to the equipment. I think we're up to 9-10 different attachments, approximately. Depth roller, flail mower, deck mower, the buddy cart, the chipper. So a lot of different options. The other thing we kind of acknowledge is that there are the other thing we acknowledge is that there are certainly some jobs on a farm that require a little bit bigger equipment. So another just neat partnership that we've been able to, really solidify and roll out to farmers over the last couple of years here has been working with Mr. Chris Teal, the small farmer at large, who's been able to provide some awesome tractor operator experience to Metro Atlanta farms. Once again, like Charles, just want to lift up Chris as being somebody who's been out on farms for many years. And really just grateful for all he's done. Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about just some of the jobs you've found? And
Hopefully you made a nice slide. But, it's a minor technical correction, but I don't actually have a flail mower. There you just have to. Then the bush hog. Grinds everything.
Yeah, I wish more people would call about the subsoil aeration, but I know a lot of small growers or medium growers are, working with a hybrid mentality that's kind of gardening and kind of field crop agriculture. Sometimes it's boxes and there's just so many of them, you call it a farm, but I wouldn't really have a place there. So I'm in between the worlds of the bigger mechanical farms, although I don't have any mechanical cultivation type stuff, so you'd still be on the hook for your weed control. But a lot of times, similar to Charles, weeds get out of hand, so the end of the season, you just bush hog it all down and till it under, and you're adding 5 trillion crabgrass seeds, but you're also adding compost as it all decays, so it could be worse. But I also wish I would get more calls about just scraping gravel driveways so they're smooth again when they get all potholed, and moving piles of stuff around that you don't have to do it with a shovel. So,
Sorry for everyone on Zoom, we're switching back and forth between mics. Hopefully you guys can hear us all right.
Similarly, I think, offering the BCS tool lending program enables a farmer to kind of be in control of what they're doing on the farm and, the timing that they want to be working on certain tasks. But Chris has been just really flexible and responsive to some of those larger jobs that present themselves. So once again, just some neat ways that some of these are able to kind of be folded in. I will mention just for the BCS tool lending program, just think about that as if you're checking out a library book. If you don't return it, somebody else can't check it out. Also, if you rip pages out of that book or don't take care of it like it's your own, that's gonna delay the next person from being able to have access to it as the tool bank does maintenance and some of those different things. So just
When I break my tractor, you don't have to worry.
So once again, yeah, Chris, appreciate all you do.
They got another answer to this question, but.
They have a trailer.
Typically, sometimes you communicate like ahead of time, your training will be more than likely. They're all on key ignitions now.
All right, compost delivery. So this is another big one that I know was mentioned at the beginning. So we have a partnership with Compost Now, where we get high quality food scrap based compost. Farms are eligible for a 15 cubic yard delivery once a year, and that again yet to be in our service area, but that's like earlier, you just apply for it, set up the drop off date, and then we bring it directly to you. The application window for this year is going to be around early spring. So it's a lot of months. We were having them out. Sounds pretty straightforward, I guess.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about some direct funding support that Foodwell Alliance offers specifically to farms. So going back to 2015, certainly one of the roles that our organization has filled has been that of a funder. Somebody who's provided direct funding to support farms, directly support community gardens, as well as kind of a range of other local food organizations. So that's included nonprofits, entrepreneurs that have centered local food and these farms and gardens, urban agriculture spaces as kind of the focus of their work. So going back to 2015, we have re-granted approximately $5.7 million over that time period. And farms specifically have made up the largest category of where that funding support has gone. So a little over 40% of that total amount of funding has been put in directly into the hands of farm owners and farmers themselves. That's been really important to us as we think about the different types of support that it takes to support a small scale farm, especially located in an urban or suburban or peri-urban environment. So that's certainly been a role we've filled, and we've had a few different types of grant processes over the years. We look at what we did this past year. We rolled out what we call our farm support grant. So last year, that was a $5,000 funding opportunity. It was accessible through a pretty simple and straightforward application. We were able to reach a little over 30 unique farms in the Metro Atlanta area with that funding. That's something we're continuing this year, but we are adding a couple things and making a few changes. So one is we are increasing that amount from $5,000 to $7,000. Obviously, inflation, cost of materials, cost of doing business. We want to be responsive to all those things. So we've been able to, of course, make some priorities and some adjustments to increase just that farm support grant amount from $5,000 to $7,000. The other thing we're doing is we're phasing back in a little bit larger grant funding opportunity. So some of you that have known Food Well Alliance know that we, through what we call our local food grant process in the past, we did offer some larger funding amounts. And, you know, we, like I said, we're kind of bringing some of those back. And so what we are offering is what we're calling our Farm Forward Grant. That's going to be a $25,000 grant opportunity to support. We're aiming to target 2 local farms with that. So we've kind of got 2 categories of grant support. One that's going to be reaching a pretty large swath of farms that are operating across the metro Atlanta area. And then, you know, the Farm Forward Grant is going to be offering a little bit larger amount of money. We're going to reach, you know, a smaller amount of farms, but able to help a few farms move forward with their work and growing local food. So this grant is something that we really put out there for farms to be able to define their own needs and challenges, and you know, put it on the farms to tell us how, you know, this type of funding support can go in and support their work. So certainly things like farm infrastructure, you know, we also think about how that's kind of has fit into activities at the farm, like making expansions to growing and production area, you know, increasing efficiencies, improving yields. So we're open to hearing how you know, some of this funding support can fit in and support farmers' work. So on the let's see, all right, so as Chris kind of mentioned earlier this evening, we do have, you know, kind of just some eligibility criteria for who can access, you know, all of these resources, and that specifically, of course, does apply, you know, to the grant itself. So this is open and available for registered farm entities located in the 5-county metro Atlanta area. And by farm entities, certainly that can be, you know, folks that are registered as a for-profit LLC. That's also, you know, established nonprofit organizations. So we certainly know of and work with here in metro Atlanta some farms that are incorporated in different ways. You know, sometimes that's, you know, as a tax exempt nonprofit organization. Sometimes that's as a small business. But there is a place within the application for you to upload kind of your documentation as far as being a registered agency. And then, yeah, like we kind of mentioned earlier, this is for farm organizations that are consistently making their food and farm products available for community consumption. So with you know, with being a established registered farm entity, you know, we're looking to support folks that are committed to, you know, a certain level of production. Obviously, if you are a farm and you are putting yourself out there to sell at a local farmers market every, you know, Thursday and Saturday, or operate that CSA program, or that you know, farm stand that's feeding community, that comes with it another level of commitment to the work, another level of planning and organization, and that's, you know, that's who these funds are targeting and supporting. So that application is going to open a little bit later this year, December 5th. We're going to run the application kind of timeline window on into the new year, and then we're going to be working hard for a few weeks at the end of January and early February on the kind of application review portion, so that we can get the decisions back to growers who have applied for this, you know, in February, as folks are starting to implement projects and you know, utilizing and needing you know, farm materials and different things at their farms. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about how folks have used some of this funding in the past. We can kind of think about it in some different places on the farm, or some different processes on the farm. Certainly, production infrastructure, production related materials and supplies have been a popular use of some of this funding over the past. That includes things like season extension infrastructure, like the high tunnels or Caterpillar tunnels. You know, they also include you know, in the field equipment and materials, whether that's, you know, trellising material, tarps, some of those things that folks are using throughout different seasons, but are costly and require certainly some funds and some planning to kind of get in place. Also, post-harvest infrastructure has been and materials has been a big one. So that might mean upgrades or improvements to a post-harvest wash station. That could mean things like market-ready supplies. Some of those things that are involved with getting food out through those different distribution channels. And then, thinking a little bit about like what Chris Teal does with the tractor, there are some projects that need to take place at farms to take care of some site work, whether that's, maybe related to a farm stand infrastructure, whether that's even something as, getting access to the farm, like graded and gravelled and different things like that. Certainly farm personnel costs and accessing things like professional services. Some folks have used it for, continuing their farmer education, paying for some of those expensive courses around, production or different. Certainly, some people are probably wondering, okay, what is Food Well Alliance looking for in an application for one of these grant opportunities? And once again, this is something for a farm to define, how this funding support fits into your, active and current needs and challenges as a farmer. So certainly utilize the application as a space for helping us to understand, who you are, what your organization, your farm is about, what your own objective and vision, and mission for this work is. And then, making that link between needs and challenges and how funding support can fit into addressing those needs and challenges. And then obviously, a realistic and clear plan for the use of the funds and how that's going to help move you forward in your work. So I'll certainly be around here, all evening if you have any, very specific questions related to the grants, and we're all here to certainly, if you want to reach out and ask any specific questions. I think, as you're thinking about kind of the farm support grant opportunities, I mean, once again, it is one of those things you can kind of think about how all of our resources are going to kind of play into each other in some different ways. So that can certainly go into some of your, planning as you're thinking about this. Currently, so our applications are accepted through our online grant system. And currently you're not going to be able to see that farm application in there quite yet. But, that's a system that we've used for many years. We've gotten a lot of feedback that it has been just, a quite user-friendly, just kind of web-based, form to complete and fill out. Cool. Yeah.
So the 2023 fund, or in addition to the.
That's right. Yeah. So
Because that initial support, our support, doing, what's that is about, that's $60,000 for that. Right? I think it is, yeah, right. So if we don't apply for 2023, still are the member families.
yeah, that's a great question, Sister Terry. No, I really appreciate you bringing that up because you've known Food Well Alliance for many years now. And what we have essentially moved to is a space where we have some of these resources that are a little bit more available and accessible, on demand, not just attached to, one grant cycle per year. So like, as you mentioned, getting the farm support grant doesn't exclude you from accessing the labor stipend. Some time with Eco Paradigm on the farm, some time with Chris Teal or that compost. So they are not mutually exclusive and, you know, like you said, some ways to fit in some different types of resources into your operation.
Design studies. It's fine. Like with that Friday, I'm graduate. Then both about me, one of them, programs, you know, one frame of use, and he's getting consultation.
Great question. I think, well, it's not something we, Foodwell Alliance currently provide. You know, I think kind of what you're maybe thinking about and talking about could be related to either early startup as the farm is doing some planning, thinking about a specific site. And while that's not something we provide, you know, that's something that you could potentially tap into some of our resources to access, pay for some of those types of services for an existing farm. Or, you know, some
Dovetail on that. Wouldn't design the state layout fall under professional services? Therefore, that would be available to farmers.
So in a farm support.
Or the labor support.
So, you know, one of those pieces of funding certainly could be used for, you know, some of that kind of like farm planning or farm consulting.
They have student insurance and they also have individuals. And you can hire those students and they would use that as part of their portfolio. Give them a fee, okay, and pass it on. Might be something you might want to think about your organization. Students to farmers.
Yeah, I think for some of the future education offerings, we're definitely looking to find other certifications. We have every other. Do you have any questions after this? But yeah, I think definitely. So one more resource that I'll talk about a little is some cold storage that we have available through our building. So it's pretty limited right now. We only have a few bays available. But if you need some cold storage, like refrigerated or here, it does have to be palletized, but the pricing is pretty reasonable for a pallet of refrigerated goods, $30 a month, and that can be used on a needed. You have access to 1 month. You need it somewhere to store it. You may not have somewhere on your farm that maybe you can hold that much capacity wise. That's definitely an option, as well as our frozen resources. And Julio Gonzalez, who's our warehouse manager, is responsible for booking all of that. So here's his information right here. I also put some of his business cards out on that table. So if you want to take one of his business cards and reach out to him, he can definitely get you set up with some, with a bank.
All right, everyone. So just a few additional resources that we have available for you all to take advantage of. So be on the lookout for some educational workshops that we'll have coming up this end of this quarter. Demystifying the USDA. Part of what we have is a 2501 grant from the USDA. So we want to make sure that we're opening doors and making sure that you know how to take advantage of some of the things that are coming down the pipeline, especially with the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Growing coming. Yep.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Very 100% new. We just met with them last week, right?
They're getting a new office right in downtown, as well as FSA and SUS, they're all moving. In November.
And there's a lot of overlap with some of the things that they'll be offering versus what we offer organizationally, except that we do it from a nonprofit standpoint. So it's a little bit less paperwork that you probably have to do and qualify for some of those offerings. Okay, so this is an entirely new department they're kind of opening up under USDA.
So FSA is under USDA, so this is and it's similar to, I guess it's on the same.
No, it's not. It's a separate line, so it's not under FSA.
It's gonna be interesting now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because it's a lot of overlap with what we currently are offering, what they're offering from maybe a government perspective, but we'll get into that a little bit offline. So we also have conference rooms available. So say for instance, you need to have a business meeting, you want to do a business presentation, things like that. We have several rooms around the building that are available for you all to take advantage of. You would just reach out to Kristen at Food Well Alliance. She is our new events coordinator. She just started today. So you definitely will be warming her up to get to know you better. So reach out. That's her information that's right there. We also have seeds available. So if you're ever interested, or maybe you just run into a gap in production and you need some assistance or some backup that way, reach out to us. We'll let you know what we have available. And then we also have fertilizers and some soil amendments. So we definitely have fish emulsion, worm castings and different things like that available to our farmers. We do not have them available in full scale, but we do have something that can get you going, or if you have a gap in meeting what you need, we're here to help. So, and let's see. I think that'll cover it for additional resources. But definitely, you guys, if you all think about how you can comprehensively put your program together before you even start off the season, think about it. You got $3,000 up front. It's going to be paid out to you in a labor stipend support, right? And you also have teams that you can rely on or reach out to for project support. Then you also have it, if you set it up correctly, where you get your compost for the year, it's 15 cubic yards. That's a lot. That should be enough to get you through a year or two if you're using it right. So, it's just things like that that we have offering. And then plus, always keep your paperwork and everything up to date, so that when those financial grant pieces come around, you're not kind of running into a wall or having hiccups around getting stuff, I guess, applied for. Or if we were to go ahead and cut the check to you, that you're able to cash it. No shade against anyone, but we have had some folks in the past that we've granted money to and they've not been able to spend it because all the paperwork wasn't in order. So that's something that you definitely want to make sure that you're keeping up to date, because farms aren't just for growing food. I always consider a farm a functional business. So, you want to run it like a business. Yeah, so pass it back over to you.
Receive access, that's you.
Yes, ma'am. You will just reach out to me. My email is Kristen@foodwellalliance.org.
Our emails are nice and easy. What's the training? The training, so what we should do is not tools, but the.
BCS tractor training.
Yeah, they're the tools after the line.
No, I was talking about the business.
Oh, yeah, so we're gonna send out, so if you just email them on that event, so whatever channel you heard about this event from, we'll just change this thing. We can move this channel as well, we can just meet out on our website. And then, just stream out, sure. About that as well, so that'll be in the beginning of December, and we'll have some representatives from different USD offices. They'll be kind of talking about, what they do, and that's it, they're asking us. And covering some opportunities for farmers and how they can kind of, we will hopefully be looking up how to do.
What happens after the farmer gets? Are there any sort of reporting requirements?
Good questions. So related to the farm support grant, the question is, what reporting requirements? And so there is, at the end of, we consider this kind of essentially more or less a 1-year grant period. So farms that received that grant earlier this year are actually heading into kind of a reporting period. We do have kind of a just, final project report. It's also documented through the online grant system, a place for a farmer to reflect on, how implementation of their project has gone, and certainly to be, putting down some thoughts around, how that funding support fit into addressing that need, while not necessarily every change is going to be realized, in 1 year. What are some of those changes that they're either have seen from implementing that grant, or, what are some things that they're expecting to see forward. So there is a project report to complete. We also certainly like to be in touch with our, farm grant recipients. So whether that's an informal visit or stop by, we don't, roll up on a farm to say like, hey, did you get this done? Did you get this done? Did you get this done? We're certainly more about, establishing a relationship, having open communication lines, to hear about certainly how a grant report is going, but also, more generally and kind of more universally how the year is going for us. Yeah, question.
I thought it was very important for, end of the year, are those funds taxed?
Great question. So that is I'm not going to offer advice as a non-tax professional, but, accepting a grant is absolutely something that a farm operation and business needs to consider, maybe even before applying for it, right? So understanding the implications of accepting that revenue, because if you are organized as a farm entity, as a an LLC or a private farm business, then yeah, that's going to be viewed as a form of income by Uncle Sam, so to speak. Certainly, there are farm organizations that are organized as nonprofits. They're going to be, they're not going to necessarily be paying taxes on a grant the same way a farm business. So to that point, we definitely hear about from a lot of folks, the importance of like tax services and tax support and some things like that. So that's something we've got our ears open around.
One thing we did with the as part of the resource offerings too is that everyone have access to PE consultation through an organization called Law Farm. It's run by a young lady by the name of Michelle Neighbor. She's an attorney in the state of Georgia. She help with different legal issues that may arise, or if you're trying to better organize your institution, maybe guide it that way.
Not currently through Fruitwell Alliance, but we've certainly heard that as being something of interest and certainly amongst farmer networks as well. Folks talk a lot about who somebody uses and things like that. There are some farm focused tax and bookkeeping organizations that do exist. One I heard of that has been kind of a resource over the years. I heard it's recently closing or closed. So something I think we should all just kind of be aware of and working on. And I do want to mention before we get into some interesting information we've been working on. You know, this building where we're located, a lot of different types of organizations that are operating quiet now. But, you know, from the Giving Kitchen, who supports restaurant industry workers, some groups like Second Helping Atlanta, Urban Recipe, some organizations that are a little bit more on the kind of food pantry and food distribution side of things. But also CFM and their Marta Market program. And we do have 2 team members here tonight from an organization called Rataza that is doing some neat work around purchasing food from farmers. They work in South Georgia, Middle Georgia, some other parts, but are also here in Atlanta and looking to get to know farmers, get to know growers, and see how their model of purchasing food can fit into some of these farm operations. So Kashi and Dylan are here. Hope y'all say hey to them with Ritas. Anything else special you want to say?
I noticed that one we buy food every day. I can speak up. We buy food every day, so regular orders, but we also buy the food that you can't sell for whatever reason. We will pay fair price for that food and we will sell it into our network. So if you can't sell something, don't throw it out, call us. RETAAZA. The name for fresh.
And what,
Salad means fresh in Hindi, so we, we're refreshing everything about. And how people work.
So yeah, as Chris mentioned, the law farm, as far as accessing legal services and legal consultation, legal office hours for farmers, those links are on our Farm Resource Center portion of our Food Well Alliance website, as well as the links to request and reach out about access to some time with Eco Paradigm on the farm, some time with Chris Teal on the tractor, some of those things. So if you haven't checked out foodwellalliance.org, all those things we're talking about tonight, those are all kind of linked there. So that's going to be your kind of information channel. One thing we want to just kind of touch on, earlier this year, or just even earlier this fall, we rolled out a farm survey, a farm resource survey to growers here in Metro Atlanta. I understand some of you here tonight might not have gotten that survey. This went out to folks that have tapped into some of our more recent resources. Certainly an opportunity for us as we have phased in some of these different layers of support, some of these different resources. We wanted to get some feedback just preliminarily on, how are these things landing? How are they fitting into support of farmers here in Metro Atlanta? And so we, part of us putting out that survey, we wanted to make sure that we are sharing back that information to growers. Certainly, within nonprofits, you run that risk of over surveying and surveying for nothing. So something we've been committed to this is that feedback loop, closing that loop of sharing back out to growers generally about what we're hearing from them, what we can all kind of be collectively thinking about and discussing as far as how what we're doing supports y'all's work. So we do have, just a few kind of just themes, general. There we go. So just a little bit of information that we're going to be sharing out certainly now, but kind of going forward as well. We've had about 20 farms respond to this farm survey so far. We think about the age range of farmers that participated in the survey. Most were in that 35 to 44-year-old category with let's see. Okay, 94% of all farmers that responded being 35 or older. 31% being older than 55. So just kind of gives a snapshot of some folks out there doing this work. 73% of the farm survey respondents reported being non-white. So Black, African-American respondents making up 60% of the growers that are out. So some just kind of good information about who's farming in Metro Atlanta. And then, just some of the things that we're able to kind of talk about here tonight as far as how are some of these resources fitting in. When we ask what are the resources currently offering their most helpful grants, kind of came back as the top. Compost delivery, a lot of feedback about compost delivery. Farm support with eco paradigms, number 3. So just another kind of validation for some of those hands-on resources. Labor support stipends being a flexible funding source that folks can tap into at essentially the time that they need it or are interested in it most. And then the access to the BCS being also. Chris, you were number 6. I'm sure. And then, so what are we not doing that, what's Google not doing that we could be or should be doing to support farmers? And, these are just kind of some of the initial things that came back. Access to additional professional services. So that law farm resource being an example of kind of a professional service that we've been able to, create a relationship with Michelle Namer of the law farm. There's some interest in some more things that are like that. Some of the farm business management strategy, some of those types of things. Ongoing farmer education. We got some more details to kind of break down into all of these categories, but support with farm materials and inputs, and then land access. That's something that has shown up before in some of the past conversations that we've had. Not just getting farmers on land, but how is that land owned by farmers? How is it protected? Hopefully in some sort of perpetuity for farming or urban agriculture purposes. And then just some other things that popped up: tax advising, preparation, bookkeeping, as kind of a tie-in to some of those professional services. Affordable health insurance, soil testing, and then some things such as NRCS, equip grant matching. This survey, we're still collecting results, and if you have not responded to it, we encourage you to, if you've not gotten that link but have tapped into some of these resources, then reach out to me. We'll definitely get it over to you. But yeah, we want this relationship, our existence as Google Alliance, certainly to be one that's of communication and dialogue. If folks don't need a compost delivery, we don't want to be paying for the compost and putting it out on farms. So we just want to be having that conversation around how are things working.
Cool. Yeah, so we're gonna open the floor up to questions. If you guys have any, we'll do it. So this is open to Zoom, Zoom people as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. We have Chris keeping an eye out on them, so we can have him read them out as well. But if any of you guys have questions, we'll be recording of this. Oh yeah, this has been recorded. Hopefully the audio is okay, but it'll be posted online as well.
In my opinion, this language, but far another thing besides food, always kind of make way more than flowers.
That makes much. I think for us, within the function of what we do, just in the school alliance, there is some level of food production that we look for. But, we definitely partner out with folks that like raise animals and fiber and things like that as well. So long as you can show that it's on the realistic.
So we have worked with and supported through some of these resources, some flower farmers here in Metro Atlanta. Certainly those folks are also involved in some food production, whether that's herbs, whether that's, the annual vegetable production. But then also, something we think about is where do flower farmers kind of fit into that role of whether it's pollination services or their role in educating other parts of the local system.
Is this opportunities for that support? So second, you know, some awesome, some systems, some bottles.
That's outside.
Yeah, man, that's totally outside everything. That's just kind of like some day-to-day support things. As many of you all know, and for those that don't, you know, sometimes farmers just in the process of their operation will reach out to us directly. And just say, hey, I had a hiccup. I may need some help getting this over the line. We reserve those types of things, you know, kind of at our discretion. But don't ever like feel that you can't reach out to us if something, you have something going on, so. Questions?
You know, Central Well Alliance, rolling, yeah, we haven't always. Because we're a school, the only reason we've been in this room, you know, I'm gonna be in this room with you, is because we do have a USDA farm member, we are moving our food to cafeteria, it's already happening, trying to get that better. But I do want to say, not only has Food Well Alliance grown, but I think the farming community, urban farming community has grown in a way of trying to have more camaraderie. We really are in this together. And even if some people get a grant and some people don't, I hope that we, you know, if it opportunities exist for us to come together to learn from one another, it's a great thing to be able to do. I just want to tell you that. I don't know anybody in this room.
Right, and if y'all, and if we want to, I think, because maybe we're trying to close down with questions. If we wanted to maybe just go around the room and folks stand up, introduce themselves, talk maybe quickly about their farm and maybe some of their offerings. And then once we get done, you know, everybody can maybe take maybe about 15 minutes before 8 to kind of just network a little bit. Y'all exchange contact information. And if it's okay with you all, you know, we'll share out who all was in attendance. And, you know, you all can just kind of convene your own networks.
What was the name of the new USDA office that's gonna be here?
Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovation, Innovative Growing.
Production.
Innovative Production. All right, we gonna get the name there.
And
It's not a catchy acronym, like FS.
Office of Urban Ag and Innovative.
Production.
Okay.
You'll see a lot of the same faces though.
I hope so.
Right, Shamika is, for those, Shamika Mosley is like liaison, so. All right, y'all, so who gonna lead off first with introduction?